Henry Cavill is just frustrated with Warhammer wokeness now after Amazon tried to ruin the Warhammer with a so-called modern touch. But the problem deepened even more after Game Workshop also somehow got influenced by Amazon and tried to add some woke changes to the lore. At first, only Amazon was a problem for Henry, but now, GM seems to be adding more to Henry's problem. But one thing is sure, GM is not naturally woke and doesn't promote the agenda like Amazon. All right, let's move on to the big mess that's happening around Warhammer 40k. It feels like every time fans turn around, someone's trying to inject their modern touch into the grimdark universe we love. Henry Cavill, a longtime fan and advocate for staying true to Warhammer's roots, has been outspoken in his frustration. And can you blame him? Between Amazon's meddling and Games Workshop seemingly caving to pressure from loud, uninvested critics, the purity of Warhammer is under attack. We basically had a rumor months ago from 4chan saying Amazon wanted female custodes, so GW added them last minute, and Cavill didn't like that. This looked just a rumor though, because no credible source just endorsed that. People criticized it as credible as Pokemon leakers, and claimed everyone was throwing enough shit at a wall, so eventually it will stick. Most of the people also said that the entire rumor made zero sense, considering the type of company GW is. They are known for being uptight and not letting anyone mess with their IPs. Yeah, but then we saw GW endorsing female custodes and also lying about them saying they have been part of the lore from day one. Such a terrible liar they are. But we have seen it happen before. Vocal minority groups swoop into a beloved franchise, declare it problematic, and demand changes. Warhammer 40k is their latest target. These so-called fans act like tyrannids, overwhelming in their numbers and relentless in their attack. But here's the twist. They're not nearly as numerous as they want you to believe, and do this to the games.
So you can imagine the collective disappointment felt when leftists make sure to get their creepy little tendrils into one of the only things left that we can actually enjoy. More and more as games are released or even updated and remastered, you see
these groups coordinate their outrage in private Discord servers, flooding social media with complaints about diversity, inclusion, and representation. Their goal isn't to enjoy the franchise, it's to reshape it to reflect their worldview. But while they're loud, they lack purchasing power. They're not the ones buying models, investing in lore, or actually playing the game. That's us, the real fans. We're the people who've been here for decades, and we're the ones who'll not stop loving the Warhammer universe, even after some so-called critics would not even talk about it. Now let's talk about Space Marine 2, a shining example of what Warhammer 40k can be when it stays true to its roots. The game has been a blockbuster and unstoppably kept increasing fan base. What a game of quality it is. The gameplay, top-notch. The visuals, stunning. The lore, impeccably intact. It's everything we could have hoped for in a sequel. Of course, the woke mob couldn't let it go without criticism. Their main complaint? The supposed lack of diversity. Let's set the record straight. The main trio in the game features a white guy, a black guy, and an Asian dude. But apparently that's not enough. No, they want transgender space marines and female custodians. Why? Because for them, anything not obeying their rules is unacceptable, and they literally hate it. These demands are absurd. Warhammer 40k is a universe steeped in grim, dark lore, where the characters and factions exist for specific narrative and thematic reasons. Changing that to appease a vocal minority undermines everything that makes the franchise unique. Here's where things get messy. Games Workshop, the company behind Warhammer 40k, seems to be paying more attention to these vocal critics than the actual fan base. Instead of standing on grounds as they always did and protecting the integrity of the lore, they've started making concessions. It's a dangerous game, one that will make sure to alienate the very people who've supported the franchise for decades. Fans have noticed the shift, and they're not happy. When Games Workshop released updates for the Custodians earlier this year, the backlash was swift and overwhelming. Videos, articles, and forum posts called out the changes, and the dislike ratios on official content spoke volumes.
I have recently noticed a lot of forced messaging in games that I like and in franchises that I like, and I just sort of feel like, can I just not enjoy it?
Now fans have a great power, far more power than that woke supporters realize. And the interesting thing is that the woke critics might be loud, but they don't have the same passion, dedication, or financial investment as the core fan base. This is those fanatic lovers who buy limited edition Black Library books, meticulously paint miniatures, and immerse themselves in the lore. The woke mob? They're here for the drama, not the game. They don't care about the universe or its characters. They care about pushing their agenda. But the numbers don't lie. So when you look at sales, engagement, and community involvement, it's clear who the real supporters are. This is why Henry Cavill's frustration hits so hard. Cavill isn't just a casual fan. He's one of us. He knows everything about the lore because he's been following it since he was 10. This man respects the universe, and he's passionate about preserving what makes Warhammer special. Watching Amazon and Games Workshop chip away at the franchise he loves must feel like a personal betrayal. Cavill's stance is actually a wake-up call for fans to stand up and say, enough is enough. We don't want watered-down versions of our favorite stories. We don't want unnecessary changes that serve people who aren't invested in the franchise. We want Warhammer 40K to remain true to its roots. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Warhammer 40K community is under siege. Vocal minority groups are pushing for changes that don't align with the franchise's lore or themes. They're calling for female space marines, gender-diverse custodians, and other additions that fundamentally destroy the real Warhammer universe. But here's the good news. The core fanbase isn't just getting what is given. They are calling out these changes, speaking up on social media, and refusing to support content that strays from the source material. It's a fight, no doubt about it, but it's one worth fighting. Because here's the reality.
Point, right? The gaming world is becoming just like other forms of entertainment, superficially inflated and directed by progressive, woke lunatics who don't actually care about the game, but the game's messaging. Which brings me to modern...
We've seen this kind of thing happening before. Look at Star Wars. Look at The Witcher. Once beloved franchises turned into hollow shells of their former selves, all in the name of appeasing a vocal minority. But Warhammer 40K doesn't have to follow that path. The key is for fans to stay vocal and engaged, and more importantly, don't let the woke mob dominate the online spaces. Fans' game is simple. Call out bad decisions, support creators who respect the lore, and most importantly, vote with your wallet. Despite everything, there's hope. Fans are rallying together, pushing back against the nonsense, and proving that the true Warhammer 40K community is still alive and well. Posts from passionate fans serve as reminders that we're the majority, even if we're not as loud. Take Kokujin, a Warhammer 40K enthusiast whose recent protest perfectly contained what so many of us are feeling. He called out the woke critics, exposed their tactics, and reminded fans that we have the power to make a difference. It's a rallying cry that should resonate with anyone who loves this universe. Now what's coming next won't be easy to handle. Games Workshop and Amazon have already shown that they're willing to cater to those woke small groups of people. But as fans, every one of you out there has the power to finish this fight for victory. The fans can refuse to support woke content, raise voices that respect the lore, and keep the spirit of Warhammer 40,000K alive. The woke mob might win a few battles, but they won't win the war. As long as the core fanbase stays true to what makes Warhammer 40K special, we can weather this storm and come out stronger on the other side. At its core, Warhammer 40K is about more than just games and stories. It's a community, a passion, and a legacy, and it's worth fighting for. Henry Cavill's frustration is exactly what so many of us are feeling, but it's also a wake-up moment for fans. All of us can't let the woke crowd dictate the future of this franchise. We have to stand together, speak up, and make our voices heard. Because in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium, there's no room for half measures. It's all or nothing. And for Warhammer 40K, it's everything.